Welcome to AGORACOM Small Cap TV, another presentation from AGORACOM Investor Relations. With us today is Dave Patterson, Chairman of Donner Metals, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol DON. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks, George. Really appreciate being here today.
All right, so the reason you're here is because Donner put out not one, but two pretty significant press releases in the first week of September. One had to do with the feasibility study on the Brace-McMcLeod deposit, and another one had to do with the McLeod Deep Zone. So what we want to do is give investors a better idea. We're going beyond the press release here and try and help them out in layman's terms, understand the significance of each. So I want to start off with first what I think is the most significant of the two press releases, which is the positive feasibility study on the Brace-McMcLeod deposit. There are a lot of significant factors to discuss here, a lot of different figures as you'd find any feasibility study. So let's get to the bottom line first. Specifically, the project returns an 8.1% internal rate of return and has a net present value of $3.4 million US. Let's talk about that number. What does that number mean to shareholders?
Well, George, we're looking past the press release, so we got to look past these numbers and understand what it means to have a bankable feasibility study. The first thing this document is a risk mitigation document. It's not a promotional document.
Right.
So we have to know that when Xstrata gives us a bankable feasibility study, these numbers that they use in there are very conservative. And we know under any situation that we should be able to make a profit in this mine.
And I think it's important for people to understand because, it's not an understatement to say that some people maybe were concerned about a low number, $3.4 million net present value. But to put that into perspective a little bit, you've got Xstrata has already began construction of the mine.
Well, excellent point. July 9th, I believe it was, Xstrata had the opening ceremony for the mine. This is a mine that will take about 28 months to construct and is already under construction before we had the feasibility study. So you can see the confidence that Xstrata has that this mine will be economic.
In coming to the economic analysis, one thing that I noticed was the feasibility study used prices that I can only describe as conservative when it came to zinc, copper, silver, and gold. Why the use of such deep discounts?
Well, again, I just said that we're a risk mitigation document. And you have to look back and say, okay, where do you see these metals being, and can we make it if they were at this price? And it's 80 cents for zinc and $2.50 for copper. Well, I think today's price for zinc was quite a bit higher.
99 cents.
Okay. And copper is $3.50. So what we're looking at is prices in the feasibility study that are conservative, so we know that we have that cushion. And this project, we know from the actions of Xstrata, is going to be profitable.
All right. So on the other hand, though, so let's talk about, I don't want to call it upside, but the press release does make it pretty clear that the project is very sensitive to actual metal prices. So I'm looking here specifically, a 10% increase in the metals prices would lead to a 1,200% increase in net present value. And by my calculation, I'll take zinc as the number one example. None of these commodities are priced higher than 25% discount to where they are today. So what does that mean for the project going forward and for shareholders?
Okay. What happens is metal price will dictate in this case, because of sensitivity to the zinc and to the copper, it will dictate net present value. And the value increases, net present value increases as the metal prices increase. And as you said, we're very sensitive to metal prices. And with a 10% increase in metal prices from 80 cents to 88 cents in zinc, for example, we're looking at a 1,200% increase in that net present value.
And obviously, I know I tried to ask this before, but you can't really talk about, you can't really give us any projections based on today's prices, but I think we're welcoming all investors, analysts, and anybody else in the financial community out there. They're welcome to make their own calculations based on today's prices.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about financing the mine now. According to the press release, financing to get to production is going to cost about $115 million in capital expenditures, and Donner is going to be responsible for about 35% of that, which you have to come up with by May 2000. First, how easy, I mean, finance is never easy, but what's your job like when you're taking this document around to banks and other potential financiers? How's this helping helping your cause or making it more difficult?
Well, it's a great opportunity to go around and talk to banks with a document that is so well constructed and conservative. And what banks don't want to see is a document that understates capital required or overstates the production that you could possibly get. In all aspects of this document, it is conservative. So we know we have that comfort when we do go to the banks to be able to start discussing something from a very solid foundation. Now, one of the things about financing a mine to construction is that you look at project financing. You look at project financing in terms of its equity and debt, and what is the balance that you want, that you feel most comfortable with. And you're looking to maximize the value, the net present value of the deposit through the financing. But you also want to look at it in a way that you can drive value for the shareholders, and that is an important aspect to this document.
Now, you have until May to come up with the money, so that's months. That's months from now. That's 8-9 months by my calculations. Is the project dependent on Donner raising its part of the financing in order to get going, or what can you tell us about that?
July 9th, Xstrata started construction of the mine. 2 months before we received the feasibility study. Their job is to get this mine up and running to feed the mill that they have, that they own 100%. They are carrying us until we can get our financing put together through May of 2011. Yeah. So we're full 9 months that we won't have to come up with the construction money.
Is that standard in the industry, or is that just an example of Xstrata's confidence in the project and the quality and the strength of the relationship that you have with them?
Well, I'd like to say it starts with the quality of the relationship. We have never had any problems with Xstrata through this whole arrangement. They're a big company. They do things their way, but they've always been respectful of how we operate as a smaller company, and they've felt our pain through 2008 and 2009.
Right, tough times.
When the whole market was tough. They felt our pain and they helped us through. And we've made announcements that have shown how they have adjusted the agreement, so it helped us.
So, and let's talk about the tough times you've gone through, because some people can say it's an overnight success. You've got this great project, you've got a great partner, you now got a bankable feasibility study, and you're on your way towards production. But that hasn't always been the case to get here. So how do you feel? How do you summarize up for the shareholders on a scale of 1 to 10? And I think everyone's going to expect you to say a 10, but I'm going to ask you anyways.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about the project and how you've arrived, and why do you feel that way?
And George, it's a question that I have to answer by saying it's 10 out of 10. But I've got the backup for why it's a 10 out of 10. First of all, we signed the agreement that optioned the property to us in June of 2006. We made our first discovery in January of 2007. We won an exploration award from the Quebec government in November of 2007. In November of 2008, we won an award from the Mining Journal for our exploration achievement. We started a scoping study in January of 2009. We took that scoping study, which was positive, and we started a feasibility study in July of 2009, and started construction of a mine in July of 2010, receiving the positive feasibility study in September of 2010. And to put the icing on the cake, we start production Q1 2013.
So two things that amaze me there. One, all this has happened in pretty much 4 years, if you want to be exact, 4 years and 2 months. Second of all, in the middle of that, we went through was probably the greatest global financial crisis that's hit, everyone agrees, since the Depression. So I'm going to say, as objective as I can be, hats off to you and the entire team for being able to pull off something pretty amazing in a short period of time during the greatest financial crisis that we've seen in our generation.
Well, thank you, George. First of all, I'm not a magician. It starts with a great team. The exploration team at Xstrata is top-notch. Our team are led by Harvey Harvey Keats, who's our CEO, Robin Adair, who is our VP Exploration. Tremendous amount of experience. We have others on our board of directors like Ken Thorson, 35 years with Tech. Left Tech as general manager of exploration. With these people involved with the company, with the people at Xstrata, that's how we're able to go out and convince people that it wasn't a mistake to back us financially. Yeah. And we're able to raise the money.
Yeah, and do it in 4 years, even in the best of times. To me, and I may be wrong, so I want you to help correct me too. 4 years is, even in good times, pretty fast, relatively speaking?
Pretty fast. I challenge you to find another company that started from a standing start, discovery, all the way through to production in 4 years, 2 months.
Yeah, I got to admit, impressive. The other big news of the week came out of the McLeod Deep Zone. And for those of you who don't know, this is also part of the Xstrata partnership at Matagami.
That's right.
Which I pronounce Matagami sometimes at Matagami. So specifically, Donner announced a 43101 inferred resource that has greater than 2.4 million tons, grading more than 9% zinc, more than 1.2% copper, and a healthy dose of silver and gold. What would be the future plan of that resource, and given the fact that you're working on BraceMac, which on its own seems like a very big project, and you've got something which I think, and you can explain better to everybody, it sounds like it's pretty significant on its own.
Well, it certainly does add more to the entire flavor of the company, because the inferred resource that we announced is almost 2.5 million tons, is consistent across the grade of zinc across the entire project area of Matagami. Right? Where this is different is that it's higher in copper than most of the other deposits in Matagami, and it's definitely higher in gold. We're seeing elevated gold. Something different is happening down there.
Oh, so it's not connected. My assumption was it was a continuation of the same thing.
And I have to say that may come to be. The engineers believe that. But what we're seeing is a gap in our drilling of 175 meters. So you see McLeod, and then down dip, you see McLeod Deep. And underneath that, we're seeing the 2.5 million, or almost 2.5 million tons. Where we would drill at would not be from surface. It would be the efficacy of drilling from underground is far greater. We probably drill 10 holes for the cost of one drill hole from surface.
Because it's way down. It starts at about 1,000 meters or so.
It starts at about 1,000
All
meters.
right.
So McLeod ends at roughly 900 meters. This starts at roughly 1,050 meters. There's no drilling in between. We drill a deep hole and we hit it. We followed up those deep holes by drilling about 100 meters around it, and we found that we had a really nice sized deposit down there that we could get an inferred resource on, and we published that the day before we published our feasibility study.
And that was great news. But so it sounds like you're going to wait, and now the company's going to conserve cash, wait till it gets further down, and then begin drilling again.
Yeah. So we would ramp down to the bottom of the McLeod zone. We would come over and be able to come at it from a proper angle, drilling very short holes from underground, and be able to bring all of that into a higher resource category. And as you increase the confidence, these things move from inferred resource to a indicated to a measured and indicated, and then to a reserve. And that's what we would be looking at to get to that point to be able to mine it.
So all in all, after a rough 4 years for anybody in the industry, you in 1 weekend or 1 week of press releases, you came out not one but two really great pieces. I think that that shareholders should be happy about going forward.
Very much, they should be. They shows that we've got the present with the mine going into construction. We got the future with McLeod Deep and that discovery and the announcement of the resource, and we've got an area of 4,700 square kilometers, of which we focused on only 1 square kilometer. So there's lots of exploration still to do in this area.
Dave, on behalf of everybody out there in the investment community, and I'm sure for a lot of Donner shareholders, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in here, go beyond the press release, really help provide some layman's context to what these press releases mean. And I guess we're all going to be watching the wires over the next days, weeks, months going forward, and wishing you all continued great success.
Well, thank you, George. I appreciate being here.
Congratulations, Dave, because I know how much work you and the whole team put into it. This has been George Scholes from AGORACOM with Dave Patterson, chairman of Donner Metals, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol DON. For more information about the company, go to donnermetals.com, or you can find them at AGORACOM by punching in the stock symbol DON. Until next time, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.